friends, welcome to Combrella Conversations. And today we have with us a very special guest, a person, Prashant Mahajan, who is founder of Zeda, a product management company based out of Bangalore. And today he will be sharing his entrepreneurial journey with us. And the very exciting or the most, exciting part about Prashant Mahajan is that during the COVID, when the COVID hit us during 2020, so in April of 2020, he was working in a company as a senior product manager. He was doing well, got good promotions, was actually developing good products. But unfortunately, he was terminated from his employment in the April 2020, like many others. But he did not buckle down or gave up during that time. And from then, April 2020, if you fast forward to June 2022, 2 years, he now runs a startup of his own. He employs 30 plus people in his company Zeda. So today he will be sharing his entrepreneurial journey, how he fought the challenges, mental challenges, and all those situations, which has brought him till here. So it's going to be really interesting conversation, and I'm sure it will be really useful for all the people and viewers watching this, and can take a lot of learnings from this particular interview. So thank you, Prashant, for giving your time and coming for this Combrella Conversations.
Thank you, Karthik, for having me here. Really glad to talk to you guys, and I hope with my journey, people can start their own journey and keep on going in their journey, because I think a lot of people need that push or motivation.
Yeah, friends. And also today we have our friend, my co-founder, C.S.Karthik I, who is also a chartered accountant, with me for this Combrella Conversations. Welcome, Sai, to the first video.
Thanks a lot, Karthik, and welcome, Mahajan. It's going to be a good time that we're going to have today.
Thank you, Sai.
Okay. Yeah. So first, Prashant, one thing which I would like to hear from you, if you can give a timeline of your life, your schooling, when you did it, then your college, then your work experience, until you started Zeda, so that people get a good overview of your life.
So my timeline, Karthik, starts with Punjab, Amritsar. So I did my schooling till plus 2 in Amritsar. Then I went on to study engineering with NIT Jalandhar, 2011 to 2015. I studied chemical engineering, not related to tech, software engineering, basically. Then I started working as product manager with Paytm in 2015 to 2017. In 2017, I went to Indonesia, Jakarta with Tokopedia, where I worked as senior product manager. Stayed there almost 2 years till 2019. In 2019, I went to Branch Metrics in California. So I worked there. And as you mentioned, in 2020 April, I got laid off in Branch Metrics. But there were 2-3 months when I did not have a job and I was just figuring things out in life. But in July 2020, I got a job opportunity as a product consultant with SoftBank Group Japan. So at that time, traveling was restricted. So I was basically working from home in India as a product consultant. In November 2020, I decided to, when the flights got resumed, the visa got processed and I had to take my flight. I decided not to take the flight and continue working on my Zeda. So I started working on that, and I resigned from PayPay Japan. In January 2021, I basically finished the notice period and moved to Bangalore. And then I think 21st January 2021 is when we registered the company. And in February, we actually started fundraising and hiring people. It's been 2 years now, almost, and fast forward, 1 year, 1.5 years now.
1 year.
Yeah. It's been a great journey. So that's the overall timeline.
Great, Prashant. So yeah. So when this Branch Metrics, you were there in Bangalore or you were in US at that time, April?
So interestingly, in Branch Metrics, I was working on both sides. So we were setting up a product engineering center in India. So I was hiring an India team also, and I used to work directly with the California team also. So I used to stay there and I used to travel to India also. So it was a mix thing. During the COVID time, actually in March, just before the, I think, 22 March 2020 was when the lockdown was announced. And I came to India on 9th March and I was doing a self quarantine at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, I mean, that's good. I mean, we got a good overview of your timeline of your life, and so that hopefully help the people. Now, Prashant, also one thing I want to ask you is, like April 20 is what when you were like said goodbye from your company, but the 3 to 4 months before that, it is January 2022 April. You said that you had worked really well, you were developing good products for your clients, you had also got a good performance appraisal. So everything was going good. And actually you didn't even expect. It was unexpected that you were like told to go from the company. So tell us about that period, before your experience, that period 3 to 4 months before you were said to go.
Sure. So basically, I remember we were hiring the team. No one had predicted COVID to come out the way it was. 3 to 4 months before, I hired 4 people. I was in California from January, I think from January to just after my trip to Nepal. I went for a solo trip to Nepal for New Year 2019-2021. And then I went to California. I was there doing great work. We were just building a product for, I think, Twitter and Uber then. We hired people. I also had my yearly performance appraisal and I almost got 80% hike. So I was back then getting a very good salary as a 26-year-old, almost $100,000 in India. Things were going great. Nothing about that. In March, when we had a panic attack in the market, even then also in the all hand meeting, and the leadership team told that there's nothing to worry about because the company had raised $117 million just few months back, so there was nothing to worry about. And because we were part of leadership and I knew that I got performance appraisal, I had shipped out some good products, I have met timeline, I have built the team, I wasn't worried about me getting laid off. We thought even if it happened, there were certain roles and positions which were not important across the company, so that might get affected, not me. But again, it happened. We don't know why and how, but yeah. So it was a bit tough to digest and tough to accept the fact that after having a great journey, great stint, everything going perfect, shit fell down, maybe because of India-USA visa situation or whatever that is. But yeah, I was laid off.
Okay, so Prashant, and from that time, and I think, and after that you got laid off when you had started Zeda on just a side part-time basis, and eventually it turned out well, and then you started registered a company. So, but that particular point of time when you were shown the door by the company, it's very low point, especially when you are performing really well. And from that point of time till you started Zeda, or getting that mindset, how did you cope with the mindset? What was your thought process? What was going through your mind? It's a very difficult, mentally very challenging. Everybody's, the world looks very dim. So and from such low points and to starting Zeda, what was the challenges and how did you overcome that phase, mentally to start off Zeda?
Sure. So basically, you are right. It's a very shitty phase of when someone gets laid off. I hope no one gets laid off, but shit happens in life. I remember, like you said, doing great in career. So in 4 years, I happened to work with Paytm, one of the biggest success story to come out of India. I launched their Paytm QR code. I worked outside India without any MBA or any masters. went to California, which is the tech hub of the world. Went from 7 lakh salary to 70 lakh salary in 4 years. So things were going great. And then you suddenly fall off the cliff. You don't have anything. So it feels very pathetic and very different. And I was in Bangalore, just visiting Bangalore. So I was in a 1 BHK studio apartment. And I did not have friends or family nearby. So got stuck in that 1 BHK studio apartment without any job in middle of pandemic for 3 months, I think. So it was a very low and dim time of life where everything is negative. But one thing which I realized is these things are not in your control. Pandemic, you losing your job, government imposing a lockdown. These are not things in your control. But what is in your control is your reaction towards them. People forget that things can go down, things can fall apart. Stock market will crash, crypto market will crash, pandemic will happen. You can't control it. What you can control is your reaction towards it. A lot of people have, because things are going negative, they also react negatively to it. But I chose, okay, like it took some time, some thinking, some introspection, some meditation, and just spending time with yourself, that I realized that yes, things are negative right now all across the world, but my reaction could need to be positive. So I think that's the only thing which I have to say, that even if things are going bad, how you choose to react towards those things is under your control, in your hand, and that's the only thing you can control. So yeah, that helped me out.
Great. Really positive.
So just to add on to what you just said, so would you say that your story of starting Zeda was by circumstance, that is, you're an entrepreneur by circumstance or by heart?
So I have been trying to do my startup for a while. Like during my school time, I used to install Windows in people's laptop and desktops. In college time, I used to jailbreak iPhones and all those things. But I was not a software engineer per se. I did try to do something before also, did not do very well. So wanted to have something of my own, but I had golden handcuffs. You have a great job, you are living a great salary, great companies, traveling the world, and everything is great. You don't want to leave all that and start something from scratch. The circumstances taught me gave me experience about how it feels not to have all those things. Those golden handcuffs got broken for a while, and I had a glimpse of the world on the other side, the freedom. And as it says, I think someone said that once you taste the freedom, you can't go back. So that thing happened with me. I got another job, again paying me $100,000 plus in pandemic, and things were great. But I had tasted freedom. So now I knew how it feels to live without the handcuffs. So Zeda was something which born out of my own problem of product management. Started working on it, started brainstorming it, researching on it, and validating the idea. While validating the idea, we got enough validation and enough motivation to start our own. And then we decided, so I'll say both of the things, my personal problem as a product manager for last 5 years, plus the situation which gave me an idea or the taste of freedom, and then my internal instinct of starting something of my own since beginning. All three came together, and then it felt just the right thing to do.
And you're talking about getting stuck in Bangalore, but I would say it's probably a magnet for all the startups. Even Tesla wanted to incorporate that business in Bangalore for some reason. Do you feel that there is some traction in Bangalore for all the startups to, bootstrap from there and then spread their wings?
Yeah, or why maybe Bangalore is like the startup hub of India?
I'll say I have lived in Delhi. I have lived in other parts of the world. The thing about Bangalore is you find really passionate and smart people at one area. So the density becomes so high that then you start seeing more and more people there. Everyone wants to be part of this community, of this young entrepreneurial mindset, people who want to grow. If you see people who go to Mumbai, they want to do business. That's
Yeah.
business mindset. People who go to Delhi, they are into social services a lot of time. So people attract people. That's the law. And Bangalore is becoming to be the good one in terms of that. There are some challenges to it, infrastructure, etc. But more or less, it feels the right place to win.
Okay. So moving on a little to, about the company as such. Before that, what was the, like, why did you actually want to start? How was it? And what was the idea behind starting up? Like, if you just can brief about a little about your mission and vision statement, then we can start up.
So I have been building products for 5 years then. Now it's been almost 7. I realized that building product was very hard. It was very operational, inefficient. You have to struggle a lot. So I was looking out for a solution which can help me do this thing better. In order to go and look for this solution which can help me do things better, I kind of realized there's no good solution out there. And then I started looking more into this, and that's where the problem became more evident that hey, I need to build a solution where product management can happen in a streamlined, simpler, and smarter way. Now, talking about the vision and mission of the company, the vision, the long term vision is to enable people to innovate. So, I can't solve all the problems of the world, but can I build a platform where people can come and solve their problems? That's what I'm trying to do. So, if you see GitHub, then even if tomorrow you fall Tesla or any other big company, they are using GitHub for their code management. They are using Figma for their design management. I want to be there for their product management. So that's the vision, which will help people unlock innovation. The mission is to make product management simpler and smarter. Simpler and smarter meaning currently product managers are doing a lot of things in a fragmented and operational way. We want to simplify it by centralizing it all at one place and integrating it with other tools, and smarter by removing the operational work by machine learning. So that's the goal.
You can just elaborate a little more on what Zeta does and how you position yourself in the market.
Yes. So Zeda basically allows you to do end-to-end product management at one place, meaning you can do all the way from collecting the requirements, planning it out, prioritizing it, stakeholder alignment, defining the requirements, and passing it on to developers. Everything, all the way from getting a request to then publishing it to the users at one place. That's what we do. Now, because we are able to do all thing at one place, that streamlines your communication, collaboration, improves your productivity, and keeps your stakeholders aligned.
Great. So and also, Prashant, nowadays if you see the startups which are coming up, like suddenly there are like big valuations and people chasing all this growth, right? They just go for growth, endless growth, and sacrifice profitability. So, what is your idea, about the startups generally and about Zeda? Do you want to chase growth, like become more higher, or you want to have profitability, or you don't want to sacrifice profits just for the sake of growth?
Or any industry-wide important metrics that you would say?
So, I'll say both things are important. growth and profitability. I'll take an example from my first company, Paytm. If you remember when Paytm started, there was MobiKwik, Recharge, couple of other these wallet systems. Paytm chose to be very aggressive on the growth, and we know now you only hear Paytm and not other names. So in some cases, you need to have a growth there. Even if you see when Zomato, Swiggy, now we know these names, but back then there was Tiny Owl, Food Panda, couple of other food delivery startups. Now they are not there. So you need to have growth, but in a sustained manner. Now, definitely people like Facebook, Amazon, they have chased growth and they became profitable late. And we look up to them. No one questions them now that they are a stable company, they are a public company, they have proved it. But when startups fail to grow, or after growth they fail, people question them and they're like, oh, because they were choosing growth and they failed for profitability. They forget Amazon, whose share everyone wants to buy. So it's not right or wrong. I think it's an approach which people want to take. And then there are companies who have tried to become more profitable from day one. Latent View, Viroda, Thyrocare, couple of other great Basecamp, etc., who have chosen to be profitable or build business and not, but they have grown very well. I'll say Viroda is the name we know all. So, yeah, so there's no right way. It's basically how you want to build a business. In either scenario which you pick, growth or profitability, you will see success stories and you will see failure stories. You will see both of them. It's just that media, or you don't find if someone started a company from day one which is profitable, right? You don't capture it in news, because anyone started a business, hundreds of businesses are being started every day. Unless and until that company does get acquired or get shut down, no one talks about them. We did not knew about Latent View for a long time. Only when they did IPO, people started talking about them. But they have been in business for 30 years. So it's, I think, a very dramatic position or very news catchy or eye catchy thing that, oh, this is growth or this shutdown, this profitability and all. It's an approach as long as founders know best what they are doing, right? It's their money. Investors know what founders are doing. Founders know what they are doing. And I think anyone outside these people are just opinions. You are not running the company. Investors have not funded you. They have not given you the money. They have given that particular person. Now that person wants to do profitable growth, whatever they want to do, it's their business, their decision, and they're smart enough to take that decision.
Great. And what is your thought process about Zeda? So this is how do you plan to take Zeda? Do you want to manage both, or in the initial phases you want to grow and then look like profitable startups?
I'll say we want to first be close to profitable, meaning we have certain burn. We would like to even it out. Once we have even it out, then we would be chasing or doing the next round for growth. With the current fundraising and everything, we would like to at least even things out.
Got it. And since you brought this fundraising, so right now if you see 2022, if you see the funding winter, kind of has come in. If you compare 2021, 2022, the startups, the world over, inflation, interest rate hikes, the venture capital PE firms are kind of cautious, in funding the companies. So how do you see that? I mean, and you will also would needing funds in your future fundraisers. How do you see that funding, constraint, that challenge, and how do you plan to overcome that?
So the first thing is, Companies are still getting funded. They are getting less funded, they are getting less valued. But if they are having good growth or good profitability or good metrics, they are getting funded. So, because people still are deploying money, it's just that they are deploying it more carefully. So earlier people were taking risky bets too. Now people are avoiding risky bets. Now this is also very common. It's not something new. It's just that we try to see it in a shorter time frame of 2022, 6 months. But if you zoom out over 10 months, the same thing happened. We were getting funded for last 7 years, all the way from 2015 to 2022. We were getting good amount of funding. So it's not 2021. It's actually 4-5 years from before that. If you see consistently across the world, venture capital funding was increasing. Now everything needs a reset button, and it's very common. In 2014-15 also, VC money got a bit set back. Before that, 2007-8 financial crash. Before that, 2001 crash. Before that, 93, 82. It's a very common pattern where people start investing money because the sentiment become very positive. Things start working out. People start investing more. Because there are more people to invest, the valuations goes up. Because valuations goes up, it becomes absurd at a point, and it becomes a reset. So it's just
a cycle. So what cycle is what we are? I got it.
Yeah.
And also off late, if you see, a lot of companies are laying off people because of this funding tap becoming dry. Like big names, I don't want to take the names, but you will be knowing that the laying of 100 people, 200, 500 people. How do you plan to tackle that? Because I know you would have a soft corner because you are also kind of unfortunately came from that situation. How do you plan to tackle that in your own company?
So we have never hired people with absurd salary. We have never hired people when we don't need them. We have kept it very lean, very simple logic that this we need people, and this is the budget which we want to have, and we get people at that. If people want higher salaries or absurd something which we can't afford, it's okay. There are other companies which can afford them. They can join them. Now that has actually kept us to build a strong team, very lean, very smart, who we can rely on. So that's it. Now coming to layoff, we have been very honest about how much money we have in the bank, how much burn we have. Everyone in the company knows it. So they know exactly how much we can sustain without having any more money in terms of revenue or investor funding. So they know it. So we are not worried immediately. We have enough money for next 2 years almost, and we are pretty confident that in that time we'll be able to generate good enough revenue, and also if needed, external funding also.
Okay. So on the people front, it's not just about retaining employees, but also identifying the right talent, right? Because especially when it comes to a startup, you may probably feel during the interviews or initial discussion that it's the right person for your team, but it may not actually turn out, and you may actually spend a little funds on them, and it may go in the opposite direction than what you would have actually expected. So how do you actually identify those talents? Because given that you're just building a core team of a startup which has just been almost a year and a half or two, it becomes very essential on the people front to have the right mindset and right team. So how do you identify those people?
So you just have to trust the people. You can never be sure that this person is the best person, but you have to firstly ensure that skill sets match, and then can you trust that person? Because few things which I look out is basic skills for the role, personality. Is the person actually a good person or not? If the person is not good, there's no point. And then, can you trust them? And can they learn? Because trust is important, because it's a early stage startup. Things will go down, things will fuck up. You need to work together for that. And in terms of learning, as you said, you get smart people and you help them learn, because we also are starting the company for the first time, right? It's
Yeah.
not we know how to start a company and we have done a graduation or something on it. So we are also learning. Because we are learning, we can't expect everyone to know everything.
True.
So we expect them to also learn with us. Now the important part is people should be smart, meaning they can learn, they can grow, they can be trustworthy, and they are mature enough to handle tough situation. In a company, I'm just saying, a Fortune 100 company which has 10,000, 20,000 employees, if 100 employees don't work very well, it's fine. It's not going to impact
Correct.
their future in a big way. But in a team of 25, 30 people, even if one or two people don't perform very well, it affects you.
Correct.
So you have to be very careful about who you hire. So people think that getting hired in Google is tough, but trust me, getting hired in a good startup is even tough, because
Yes.
they cannot afford to have a risk. So they are even more careful about getting hired.
Yeah. So just to sum up, it's more about your attitude than what you actually know, and you're fine to actually teach them on the job if you have the right attitude.
Yeah.
Or Prashant, or if we can just see, startups looks very good, right? I mean, your own boss, you have a company. That's all the positives, right? Of everybody wants to get the positive part. But what are the downsides, or the tougher parts, or the cons of starting up? Or what are the challenges that people know? These are positives, these are negatives. I should be ready for negatives also, and not just take only positives if I want to start.
So I think the toughest part is the emotional energy which it takes. Because if I'm working for a company, let's say a big company, people want to go join a FANG, it doesn't matter. Honestly, like, you are just one of 100,000 people, and you may think you have got some achievement, and it's great, you have achieved something which very few people get it, but you are working in a bit less stress. You go work, company is not going to die because of one mistake. There are checks and errors at every stage. You are doing your 100%, but in the end, it's you individually are not going to fuck up so bad that company will die. But as a founder, if you fuck up, you are dead. Your company is dead. People's money is lost. People's job is lost. We have raised more than $3.5 million. That's more money than I could have ever imagined in my life, right? That's on table. People have trusted you. There's your reputation, there's your name, there's a lot of things on stake. Now, that is something which is risky. And people think you raise money and your problems are sorted, but they're just start of the problem. So it's an emotional journey, which is the toughest part. It takes your energy, it gives you a lot of stress, which I think if you have a good enough job with good work-life balance and everything, that is very good thing. I don't know why people don't want it, but that's a very good thing. You have a predictable income, predictable working hours, going and doing things and that's perfect. Like with the remote work, you just keep on traveling and working and enjoying your life. It's if you want to start a startup, unless until you become a Series B company, which is well funded, well established organization, it's going to be a challenge every day.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So you've been an employee and now you're an employer. Whereas, there are a lot of people who, right after graduation would want to start, get into a startup. Would you say that is the right choice for them? Or would you expect them to have some experience in the business they would actually want to start and then, get into the entrepreneur role?
I'll I'll say second thing. Like there are very few exceptions. People who have just dropped out or started out of the college and doing great. But statistically, uh, people who have some experience they do better. Like total number of founders who are running a company, they are better. Reason being, uh, I think I'll not talk about other people, but I think in my journey, if I had not experienced problem of product management, I would have not started. I saw the work culture in Japan, India, Indonesia, Silicon Valley. I knew what is the right culture. Learned a lot from people. Got a lot of mentorship. So I think I'll definitely say having some experience helps out a lot, especially in networking perspective.
Yeah.
And Prashant, like, I mean, you're 29. I mean, I think at 29, I think you've seen a good full circle of life, going around the world, working in top companies, getting laid off, then starting your own journey. I think for a 29-year-old, it's quite a experiential journey. So at this stage, definitely, who are the entrepreneurs you look up to for your inspiration? Because or these are your ideal entrepreneurs, maybe one or two or many. So these are things I want to take from them and I follow those people.
So definitely there are many people who I take inspiration from. So there's, if people have not read, then Shoe Dog by Nike founder is something which I highly recommend. And I think people who started the startup back in 2005 to 2010, they are really smart people, because at that time you did not have enough funding in the market. Startup as a word was very new. People were not ready to join. So I think a lot of my investors also who are from that 2005-10 era, Abhishek Goyal, Himanshu, couple of others, Farooq Adam, etc., who started back then, I really look up to them because they know what it feels like to start back then.
Okay. And what are the things, and in today's generation, the changing environment, right? You need to continuously reskill, upskill yourself. How do you do that for yourself?
I think I mostly like to read. That is the only thing. I don't go for meetups and everything. That reading part, there are two types of skill: soft skill and hard skills. So skills like product-led growth or uh, particular pricing, monetization, or other thing which you need to do some course. Then I do on Reforge or Section 4 or some other on deck, etc. And then there are soft skills which you only can learn by yourself, which I like to read books. That's pretty much it.
Right. So, and certain things, founders should typically avoid doing in a startup, right? I mean, these are don'ts. I mean, you should never do that. Certain things which you also follow that.
I'll say the biggest and the most important thing is be honest, never cheat, and don't do anything which you regret later. So you're going to make a decision with someone's money, someone's life, someone's career. So try to be fair, like as fair as possible, as honest as possible, and take a decision with best of your knowledge. Obviously, decisions only you get to know once you have taken them.
Mindset. Yeah.
But at least you are not taking a decision which you are not going to be proud of. I'll say that is the only thing.
Fine. And Prashant, what are like a lot of youngsters today? I mean, right? I mean, last couple of years and after the Shark Tank, so there's a lot of buzz, right? People want to start their own some sort of business or their own venture, right? And there's a lot of energy, enthusiasm in the youngsters, right? So, what would be your message to them, like how to start up, how should they figure things out, or simply if they want to start, how do they start up, and your message for them, to on this becoming an entrepreneur.
So I have few things on that, which I talk to people generally, why they want to start a startup. That's a very important question. A lot of people want to start a startup by looking at other people, and as I said, you realize, oh shit, this was not something I want to do later on. But having that why is very important. And there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It's a very good book. You should have a clear why. If you have a why, you'll figure way out. So I will say everyone who wants to start a startup, definitely do try. But figure out why you want to start first place and then do it. A lot of time we don't actually know why we are doing it. We're just doing it because we saw other people doing it, we saw Shark Tank, we saw, just got bored of our corporate life, we got bored, we got FOMO, we got other things. But that's not how you live your life. So your whatever purpose of life is, if it aligns with startup, sure, do that. And the other thing is, there's enough resources right now. Like you just do a Google search. I don't want to give advice. There are tons of videos how to start a startup, tons of threads, tons of newsletters, blogs, startup schools, and everything. So that's not a challenge anymore. But take a time and think why you want to start a startup. That's one thing. And secondly, if you have come up with the decision, take it. Because I think 50% of the problem of starting a startup is starting up. Once you decide and take the leap of faith, then it's fine.
Okay, I mean that's I think really valuable, which piece of information people should have it. And now we have a small rapid fire question by C.S.Karthik I to you. So, okay, we go at that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, yeah. So, what is your leadership style? I mean, is it autocratic, participative, transformational, transactional?
Hire smart people and then let them do their job, give them enough freedom and give them the direction.
Okay. So, how do you describe yourself in a word?
Positive.
Okay, what are your strength and weakness?
Strength will be empathy or being very rational. Weakness will also be I'm very rational sometimes and I forget the emotional part of it, so that becomes a weakness at some point. So I'll say that also.
Okay. So who's your role model in life?
Role model in life. Very tough to point out one person. A lot of people, especially after you start reading books, you find a lot of other people. So yeah, many people I'll say.
Maybe 2-3 you can just name top of your mind.
Top of my mind I can think of is one right now, Zeda founders. They are doing
Zeda founders.
Yes, and yeah, these are the top, which I can think right now.
Okay. Is there anything which is non-negotiable in you?
Non-negotiable with me is being unfair. Like you cannot be unfair to anyone.
Okay, and the last question is, would you go for a valuation or a higher profit?
In current situation of my company, I'll say profit.
Okay, Prashant. So I think with that we come to this end of conversation, and it's been really nice. I mean, a nice 1 hour session. So thank you for all your time, your insights and into this and sharing your journey, just letting your heart out. I think it will be really good for the viewers. And any closing comments from us?
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Karthik. It was great to have you talk to you and have this conversation. I hope it helps a lot of people. And yeah, nice talking to you.
Yeah, and maybe we can, fast forward 2024, 25, maybe you become a unicorn, and then again we can connect back later, once again.
I hope so.
Best wishes for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
All the best, Prashant. Yeah, thank you.